The year was 2347, and humanity had reached farther into space than anyone could have imagined centuries earlier. The stars were no longer distant lights but destinations for exploration, trade, and diplomacy. Earth, once the sole home of humankind, now shared its dominance with colonies scattered across dozens of planets. These colonies thrived because of alliances forged with other intelligent species in the galaxy. But not all encounters went smoothly. Captain Ryan Carter stood at the helm of the scout ship Eclipse, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. His crew was small, just 5 people, but they were among the best. Each member brought something unique to the mission. First Officer Mia Lewis was calm under pressure, her sharp mind always ready to solve problems. Communications Specialist. Ethan Cole had a knack for understanding languages, even those spoken by alien races. Pilot Jack Dawson maneuvered the ship like it was an extension of his own body. And then there was Samantha Brooks, or Sam as everyone called her, a xenobiologist who studied life forms from other worlds. Their mission was simple: explore uncharted regions of space near the edge of known territory. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was important. Every discovery added to humanity's knowledge of the universe. This time, however, their journey would lead them somewhere unexpected and dangerous. It started with a signal, or rather the absence of one. As the Eclipse drifted through a quiet sector of space, sensors picked up traces of debris. At first glance, it seemed like just another asteroid field, but something about the pattern caught Ethan's attention. "Captain," he said, leaning forward in his seat, "this doesn't look natural." Ryan nodded. "Bring us closer, let's take a look." As the ship approached, the shape of a derelict vessel became clear. It was enormous, easily twice the size of the Eclipse. Its sleek design suggested it belonged to a highly advanced civilization, but what really made Ryan uneasy was the insignia etched onto its hull. He recognized it immediately. It was the symbol of the Vrix. The Vrix were infamous throughout the galaxy, known as apex predators. They were feared for their unmatched combat skills and ruthless efficiency. Stories of entire fleets being wiped out by a single Vrix warrior weren't uncommon. Most species avoided them at all costs, and many believed that any encounter with the Vrix ended in bloodshed. Yet here was one of their ships, floating lifelessly in the void. "What do you think happened?" Mia asked, breaking the silence. "Hard to say," Ryan replied. "Could be anything. Engine failure, sabotage, maybe even battle damage. Whatever it is, we need to check it out." There was hesitation among the crew. Even Sam, who usually welcomed opportunities to study new species, seemed uneasy. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" she asked. "If there are still Vrix aboard, we'll be careful," Ryan assured her. "But we can't ignore this. If we can learn something about them, it might help us avoid future conflicts." With that, the decision was made. Donning their suits, Ryan, Mia, and Ethan prepared to board the mysterious vessel. Jack stayed behind to monitor the situation from the Eclipse, while Sam kept watch over the medical bay in case anyone got injured. The airlock hissed open, and the trio stepped inside. The interior of the ship was unlike anything they'd ever seen. The walls shimmered faintly as if alive, and strange symbols glowed softly in the dim light. Everything was eerily silent save for the sound of their boots against the metallic floor. They moved cautiously, weapons drawn, scanning every corner for signs of movement. After several tense minutes, they reached what appeared to be the control room. Here, the glowing symbols were brighter, pulsating rhythmically. In the center of the room lay a large console covered in dust and debris. Ethan knelt beside it, running a diagnostic scan with his handheld device. "This tech is incredible," he muttered, awestruck. "It's way beyond anything we've developed. I've never seen anything like it." Mia frowned. "Focus, Ethan. We're not here to admire their engineering." Before Ethan could respond, Ryan noticed something unusual. On one side of the room, partially hidden behind a fallen panel, was a figure. At first glance it looked like a statue, but as they approached it became clear that it was a Vrix. Its massive frame was slumped against the wall, its claws resting limply at its sides. Its eyes were closed, and its breathing, if it was breathing at all, was so faint it was barely noticeable. "Is it dead?" Mia whispered. "I don't think so," Ryan said slowly. He crouched down, examining the creature more closely. Its skin was a deep grayish blue, covered in intricate patterns that shifted slightly when touched. Long, razor-sharp spines ran along its spine, and its muscular arms ended in talons capable of tearing through steel. But despite its intimidating appearance, there was something almost peaceful about it. Ethan hesitated before speaking. "Do you think it's hibernating? Some species enter states like this when resources are scarce." "Maybe," Ryan replied. "But why leave it here? Why abandon the ship?" Before anyone could answer, the Vrix stirred. Its eyes snapped open, revealing vertical slits that glowed faintly red. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, without warning, the creature let out a low growl, causing the humans to instinctively raise their weapons. But instead of attacking, the Vrix tilted its head, studying them intently. To everyone's surprise, it didn't seem aggressive. Instead, it emitted a series of clicks and hums which Ethan's translator struggled to decode. "It's trying to communicate," Ethan said, excitement creeping into his voice. "I think it's asking where it is." Ryan lowered his weapon slightly, though he remained cautious. "Can you understand it?" "Not fully," Ethan admitted. "But I'm picking up fragments. It's confused, disoriented." Mia glanced at Ryan, her expression wary. "What do we do now?" Ryan thought for a moment. The logical choice would be to retreat and report their findings to the Galactic Council. But something about the situation felt different. This Vrix wasn't behaving like the monsters described in stories. It was vulnerable, lost, and perhaps even scared. "We bring it back to the eclipse," Ryan decided finally. "If we can establish communication, we might learn something valuable." Mia raised an eyebrow. "You realize how risky that is, right? If the council finds out—" "They won't," Ryan interrupted firmly. "Not yet. We'll handle this carefully. For now, let's focus on getting it aboard." Reluctantly, Mia nodded, and together, the three of them managed to guide the weakened Vrix back to their ship. Once aboard, Sam examined it thoroughly, confirming that it posed no immediate threat. Over the next few hours, Ethan worked tirelessly to decipher more of its language, piecing together fragments of information. What they learned astonished them. The Vrix weren't mindless killers. They were a proud, ancient race with a rich culture and history. Their reputation as predators stemmed from their role as protectors of their homeworld, not from malice, and perhaps most surprisingly, they viewed humans with curiosity rather than contempt. By the time the eclipse returned to Earth, Ryan knew they had stumbled upon something extraordinary. Whether the rest of humanity and the Galactic Council would see it the same way remained to be seen. But one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The journey back to Earth aboard the Eclipse was tense. Captain Ryan Carter sat in the command chair, staring at the glowing screens that displayed their course. The ship hummed softly as it cut through the vast emptiness of space, but the silence among the crew spoke volumes. They had brought something or someone aboard that no human had ever dared to approach before. A Vrix. In the medical bay, Samantha Brooks, or Sam, monitored the creature closely. It lay on a specially reinforced bed, its massive frame barely fitting within the confines of the small room. Sam adjusted the sensors attached to its skin, checking for any signs of instability. Despite its intimidating appearance, the Vrix remained calm, almost docile. Its chest rose and fell with slow, steady breaths, and its glowing red eyes were closed as if it were resting. Ethan Cole sat nearby, his translator device buzzing quietly as he worked to decode more of the Vrix's language. Every click, hum, and growl was a puzzle waiting to be solved. He scribbled notes furiously, occasionally muttering under his breath. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," he said aloud, though not expecting an answer. "Their syntax is so complex. It's beautiful." Mia Lewis stood by the doorway, arms crossed. Her sharp features betrayed her unease. You think it's safe to keep it here? She asked, glancing at the sleeping predator. What if it wakes up and decides we're a threat? It hasn't shown any aggression so far, Sam replied, keeping her tone neutral. If anything, it seems confused, like it doesn't understand why it's here. Ryan entered the room just then, breaking the tension. How's it doing? He asked, nodding toward the Vrix. Stable, Sam answered. Physically, it's fine, but mentally? Hard to say. We don't know enough about them yet. Ryan nodded thoughtfully. Keep working on communication, Ethan. If we can figure out what it wants, maybe we can build some trust. Ethan didn't look up from his device. I'm trying, Captain, but this isn't exactly beginner-level stuff. We'll get there, Ryan said firmly. We have to. Back on Earth, news of the discovery spread quickly. General David Hayes, head of the United Galactic Defense Force, paced angrily in his office. His face was red, veins bulging in his neck as he read the latest report. They did what? He barked into the comm link. Who authorized bringing one of those things on board? On the other end of the line, Senator Laura Bennett tried to remain composed. From what I understand, Captain Carter acted on his own judgment, she explained. He claims the Vrix posed no immediate threat. No immediate threat? Hayes repeated incredulously. That thing could tear apart an entire platoon without breaking a sweat. Do they even realize what they've done? Bennett sighed. I agree it's reckless, but we need to handle this carefully. If word gets out that we attacked a defenseless Vrix, it could escalate tensions further. Hayes slammed his fist on the desk. Defenseless? That's laughable. The Vrix are apex predators, Senator. They don't know the meaning of mercy. I'm not saying we should roll out the welcome mat, Bennett countered. But killing it outright might make us look worse than them. For now, let's see what Carter has to say for himself. Meanwhile, aboard the Eclipse, progress was slow but steady. Ethan finally managed to establish basic communication with the Vrix. Using a combination of gestures and translated phrases, he learned that the creature called itself Kale. Though much of its speech was still garbled, Kale seemed eager to cooperate. 1. Evening, as the crew gathered in the mess hall, Ethan shared what he'd discovered. Kale says it remembers being on its ship, he began. Something went wrong, a malfunction maybe. It thinks the rest of its crew abandoned it. Abandoned it? Mia echoed skeptically. Why would they do that? Maybe they thought it was dead, Jack Dawson suggested. Or maybe they couldn't risk staying. Ryan leaned forward, his brow furrowed. Did Kale mention where it came from? Any details about its homeworld? Ethan shook his head. Not yet. But it keeps referring to something called the Veil. I'm not sure what that means. Sam chimed in. Could it be a place or maybe a concept? It's too early to tell, Ethan admitted. But Kale trusts us, for now. That's a start. As days passed, Kale grew stronger. It began moving around the ship under supervision, exploring cautiously while always staying close to Ethan. The crew marveled at its intelligence. When shown holographic displays of Earth's cities, Kale tilted its head curiously, emitting soft clicks that Ethan interpreted as questions. In return, it demonstrated aspects of its own culture, mimicking hunting strategies and showing intricate patterns etched into its skin that represented its clan. Despite these breakthroughs, tensions remained high. News of the Vrix's presence aboard the Eclipse reached Earth sooner than expected. Videos leaked online, sparking outrage across colonies. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, holding signs that read, "No monsters among us," and "Protect humanity." Military leaders demanded immediate action, calling for the Vrix's destruction. General Hayes convened an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council. Representatives from various species filled the chamber, their expressions ranging from fear to anger. This situation is unacceptable, Hayes declared, pointing at a hologram of Kale. Humans have endangered themselves, and potentially the entire galaxy, by harboring one of these creatures. Senator Bennett stepped forward, attempting to calm the room. We mustn't jump to conclusions, she urged. Captain Carter claims the Vrix poses no threat. Perhaps this is an opportunity to learn more about them. Opportunity, Hayes spat. You call this an opportunity? The Vricks are killers, plain and simple. There's no reasoning with beasts like that. Before the argument could escalate further, a representative from the Zinari delegation spoke up. The Zinari were a peaceful race known for their diplomatic skills. Perhaps both sides have valid points, the ambassador said diplomatically. But acting impulsively will only worsen matters. Let us hear from Captain Carter before deciding. Reluctantly, the council agreed to wait. Orders were sent to the Eclipse Aurid instructing Ryan to return to Earth immediately for questioning. When the message arrived, Ryan gathered his crew in the briefing room. They want us back, he announced grimly, and they're not happy. What happens when we get there? Sam asked nervously. They'll probably take Kale away, Ethan guessed. Study it, or worse. Ryan clenched his fists. I won't let that happen. Kale trusted us. We gave our word we wouldn't harm it. So what's the plan? Mia pressed. We can't fight the entire council. No, Ryan admitted. But we can try to change their minds. Show them that Kale isn't what they think it is. Over. The next few days the crew prepared feverishly. Ethan compiled recordings of his interactions with Kale, highlighting moments of cooperation and curiosity. Sam documented the creature's physical condition, emphasizing its non-aggressive behavior. Even Jack contributed, recalling instances where Kale had shown restraint despite provocation. By the time the Eclipse docked at Earth's orbital station, they felt ready, or as ready as they could be. Armed guards awaited them, their weapons, trained on the ship's airlock. Ryan took a deep breath before stepping out, flanked by his crew. Behind them, Kale followed cautiously, towering over everyone else. The sight caused gasps and murmurs among the crowd. Cameras flashed wildly as reporters shouted questions. Ryan held up a hand, signaling for silence. Listen to me, he called. Out. This creature is not our enemy. It's intelligent, curious, and willing to communicate. Killing it would be a mistake. For a moment, no one moved. Then General Hayes stepped forward, his expression cold. Take it away, he ordered. No. Ryan shouted, stepping between Kale and the soldiers. You'll regret this if you don't listen. Tension crackled in the air. The standoff lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. Finally, Senator Bennett intervened. Let him speak, she said firmly. We owe him that much. Reluctantly, Hayes backed down. Ryan turned to face the crowd, his voice steady. We've been taught to fear the Vricks, but fear blinds us. Look at Kale. Does it look like a monster, or does it look like a chance to understand, to grow, to unite? As Ryan spoke, Kale raised a clawed hand, mimicking a gesture Ethan had taught it earlier, a symbol of peace. The gesture stunned the crowd into silence. For the first time, many saw not a predator, but a being capable of connection. Though far from resolved, the tide had shifted. Ryan knew the battle wasn't over, but he also knew they had taken the first step toward changing hearts, and perhaps history. The aftermath of Ryan's speech at the orbital station rippled through the galaxy like a shockwave. For the first time in recorded history, humanity and the Vricks stood side by side, not as enemies, but as tentative allies. The image of Kale, raising its clawed hand in a gesture of peace, became iconic overnight. It was broadcast across news channels, shared on social media platforms, and debated fiercely in every corner of human civilization. Yet, while some saw hope in that moment, others saw danger. Senator Laura Bennett watched the footage from her office, her fingers steepled under her chin. She couldn't deny the power of Ryan's words or the impact of Kale's gesture, but she also knew that fear ran deep in the hearts of many. Fear of the unknown, fear of predators, fear of making the wrong choice when so much was at stake. This is going to get messy, she muttered to herself, scrolling through reports flooding her inbox. Protests had erupted on multiple planets, with citizens demanding immediate action against the Vricks threat. Military leaders were clamoring for control over Kale, insisting it be detained, or worse, before any potential harm could come to Earth. Meanwhile, supporters of Ryan's mission argued passionately for diplomacy. claiming that destroying Kale would only confirm humanity's reputation as short-sighted and aggressive. Bennett sighed heavily. Balancing these opposing forces wouldn't be easy. Still, she believed there was merit in giving Ryan's approach a chance. After all, if the Galactic Council acted too hastily, they risked alienating not just the Vrix, but anyone who valued peaceful solutions over brute force. Back aboard the Eclipse, the crew prepared for their next challenge, presenting their case before the full Galactic Council. This wasn't just about saving Kale. It was about proving that humans were capable of bridging divides even with species as feared as the Vrix. Ryan called another meeting in the briefing room to go over their strategy. "We need to show them that Kale isn't dangerous," Ryan said, pacing back and forth. "We've got Ethan's recordings, Sam's medical data, and Jack's observations. We'll present everything we've learned." "But will it be enough?" Mia asked, leaning forward. Her dark eyes reflected both determination and doubt. "These people aren't scientists or explorers. They're politicians and generals. They care more about public opinion than facts." "Then we make the facts impossible to ignore," Ryan replied firmly. "Ethan, you've been working on translating more of Kale's language. How far have you gotten?" Ethan hesitated, glancing down at his notes. "I've made progress," he admitted. "Kale has explained parts of its culture, their clans, their rituals, how they view outsiders, but it's still fragmented. I can't guarantee smooth communication during the hearing." "That's okay," Ryan assured him. "Even broken communication is better than none. If Kale can speak directly to the council, even in pieces, it'll carry more weight than anything we say." Sam nodded thoughtfully. "And I've documented every interaction we've had with Kale. Its behavior has been consistent, curious, cooperative, non-aggressive. That should help counter the narrative that all Vrix are mindless killers." Jack raised a hand slightly, drawing everyone's attention. "What about Kale itself? Is it ready for this? Facing an entire council of aliens might stress it out." Ryan turned to look at Kale, who stood quietly near the doorway. Despite its massive size, the creature seemed almost gentle, its glowing red eyes scanning the room with calm curiosity. Over the past few days, Kale had grown accustomed to the crew's presence, trusting them implicitly. Ryan hoped that trust extended to the upcoming ordeal. "He'll handle it," Ryan said finally. "We'll stay close and support him every step of the way." The day of the hearing arrived sooner than anyone expected. The Galactic Council chamber was a vast, domed hall filled with representatives from dozens of species. Each delegate sat behind holographic displays showing their home planet or insignia. At the center of the room stood a raised platform where Ryan, his crew, and Kale would address the council. As they entered, the atmosphere shifted noticeably. Whispers spread like wildfire, and several delegates recoiled visibly at the sight of Kyle. Even those who had seen the footage struggled to reconcile the image of the towering predator with the concept of peace. Ryan kept his expression neutral, guiding Kale toward the platform. Ethan stayed close, ready to translate, while Sam and Jack flanked them protectively. General David Hayes took the floor first, his voice booming through the chamber. "Captain Carter, you have defied direct orders, endangered your crew, and brought one of the most lethal species in existence into our midst. Explain yourself." Ryan stepped forward, his posture confident despite the weight of countless eyes on him. "General Hayes, I acted because I believed it was the right thing to do. When we found Kale, it was alone, injured and abandoned. Instead of attacking us, it sought understanding. Through patience and communication, we've built a bridge between our species, a bridge that could lead to lasting peace." Hayes sneered. "Peace? With creatures born to kill? You're either naive or reckless." Before Ryan could respond, Ethan activated his translator device. "Let Kale speak for itself," he suggested, gesturing toward the Vrix. Kale stepped forward, its claws clicking softly against the floor. For a moment, it simply observed the crowd, its glowing eyes taking in the diversity of beings before it. Then, using a combination of clicks, hums, and gestures, it began to communicate. Ethan translated as best he could. "Kyle says, it remembers pain, loneliness. It asks why we fear it when it only seeks knowledge. The chamber fell silent. Some delegates exchanged skeptical glances, while others leaned forward, intrigued. A representative from the aquatic quarren species spoke up. If what this creature says is true, then perhaps we have misjudged its kind. But how can we trust it? Mia stepped forward, holding up her tablet. We've documented every interaction with Kale since bringing it aboard our ship. It has shown no aggression even when provoked. It learns quickly and adapts to new situations. These traits suggest intelligence far beyond mere instinct. Sam added. Its physiology supports this. The patterns on its skin change based on emotion, similar to how some species use facial expressions. It feels empathy, curiosity, and even gratitude. The debate continued for hours, with arguments flying back and forth. Supporters of Ryan's mission highlighted the potential benefits of forming an alliance with the Vrix, while opponents warned of the risks involved. Throughout it all, Kale remained still, its presence a living testament to the possibility of coexistence. Finally, Senator Bennett addressed the council. We cannot deny the evidence presented here today. Captain Carter and his crew have taken extraordinary measures to prove that peace is possible. While caution is warranted, let us not allow fear to dictate our actions. Let us give this alliance a chance. Her words resonated with several key members of the council, tipping the scales ever so slightly in Ryan's favor. Though far from unanimous, the decision was made. Kyle would remain under human supervision for further study, and efforts would continue to establish communication with other Vrix clans. As the hearing concluded, Ryan felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. They had won, for now, but the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. Outside the chamber, reporters swarmed the crew, bombarding them with questions. Cameras flashed wildly, capturing images of Kale standing tall beside Ryan, its clawed hand resting gently on his shoulder. For the first time, Ryan allowed himself a small smile. Against all odds, they had planted a seed of hope. Whether it would grow into something greater remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. Humanity had taken its first step toward rewriting the story of the Vrix, and perhaps the galaxy itself. The decision of the Galactic Council to allow Kale to remain under human supervision came with strings attached, tight ones. General David Hayes, still fuming over the outcome of the hearing, insisted on strict oversight. If that thing's so much as twitches wrong, he warned Ryan, it's going down. No second chances. Ryan understood the gravity of the situation. The council had given him a fragile opportunity to prove that humans and Vrix could coexist peacefully. But he also knew that not everyone shared his vision. There were factions within Earth's military and beyond that saw Kyle as nothing more than a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. In the days following the hearing, tensions simmered just below the surface. Protests continued outside government, buildings fueled by fear-mongering reports in the media. Senator Laura Bennett worked tirelessly to calm the public, emphasizing the importance of diplomacy. Yet even she admitted privately to Ryan that patience was wearing thin. You've bought yourself some time, she told him during a late-night meeting. But if anything goes wrong, you'll have an entire galaxy breathing down your neck. Ryan nodded grimly. He didn't need reminding. Every move they made with Kale was scrutinized, every interaction recorded and analyzed. Even aboard the Eclipse, where Kale had become part of their makeshift family, the air felt heavier now. The crew carried on as best they could, but the stress was evident in their faces. Colonel Alan Graves watched the news feeds from his office, a sneer curling his lips. A career soldier with decades of service behind him, Graves despised what he saw as weakness. To him, Ryan Carter and his crew were traitors, not just to humanity, but to the principles of survival itself. In his mind, there was no room for trust when it came to predators like the Vrix. Graves wasn't alone in his beliefs. He had quietly assembled a group of like-minded individuals within the military, all united by one goal: eliminating Kyle before it could pose a threat. They called themselves Task Force Omega, operating in secret without official sanction. Their mission was clear: to neutralize the Vrix problem once and for all. Late one night, Graves received a message from an informant embedded in the orbital station monitoring Kale's activities. According to the report, the Vrix had been moved temporarily to a secure facility for additional testing. Security measures were tight, but not impenetrable. This was their chance. Graves wasted no time assembling his team. Under the cover of darkness, they boarded a stealth shuttle and set course for the facility. Their plan was simple yet brutal: infiltrate, capture, and kill. If anyone questioned their actions later, Graves was prepared to justify them as necessary precautions. After all, who would mourn the loss of a monster? Back at the facility, Ryan and his crew were unaware of the danger approaching. Kyle had adapted surprisingly well to its new surroundings, demonstrating remarkable intelligence during tests conducted by xenobiologists. Sam marveled at how quickly the creature learned, often mimicking gestures or responding to commands after only a few attempts. "It's almost like it understands us better than we understand ourselves," she remarked one evening as they reviewed data together. Mia, however, remained cautious. "Don't get too comfortable," she warned. "We're walking a tightrope. Here, one misstep and everything falls apart." Her words proved prophetic sooner than expected. Around midnight, alarms blared throughout the facility, jolting everyone awake. Task Force Omega had breached the perimeter, moving swiftly through corridors while disabling security systems. By the time guards realized what was happening, it was already too late. Ryan rushed to Kale's holding area, heart pounding. The massive Vrix stood calmly in the center of the room, its glowing red eyes scanning the doorway. When Ryan entered, followed closely by Ethan and Mia, Kale tilted its head inquisitively. "What's wrong?" Ethan translated softly. Before Ryan could answer, gunfire erupted nearby. The sound echoed sharply, sending chills down their spines. "Stay close," Ryan ordered, gripping his weapon tightly. "They're coming for you." Kale let out a low growl, its claws flexing instinctively. For the first time since their journey began, Ryan saw a flicker of aggression in the creature's demeanor. It wasn't afraid. It was ready to fight. "No," Ryan said firmly, placing a hand on Kale's armored arm. "Not yet. Trust me." Ethan relayed the message, and after a moment, Kale relaxed slightly. The three of them positioned themselves, strategically, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. When Task Force Omega burst into the room moments later, they weren't expecting resistance. At least, not from humans. Graves led the charge, his rifle aimed squarely at Kale. "Stand aside, Carter," he barked. "This doesn't concern you." "It concerns all of us," Ryan shot back, stepping between Graves and Kale. His voice was steady, though his pulse raced. "You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing," Graves snarled. "I'm protecting humanity from itself. That thing is a weapon, plain and simple." Behind Ryan, Kale emitted a series of sharp clicks, its body tensing. Ethan glanced nervously at the translator device in his hands. "It's asking why they attack." "Tell it to stay calm," Ryan instructed, never taking his eyes off Graves. "We can handle this." Graves laughed bitterly. "Handle it? You're outnumbered, Carter. Give up now, or we'll take it by force." Mia stepped forward, her own weapon drawn. "Try it," she challenged, her tone icy. "See how far you get." For a tense moment, neither side moved. Then suddenly, Kyle acted. With lightning speed, it lunged. Not at the soldiers, but toward a control panel on the wall. Its claws tore through the metal casing, exposing wires beneath. Sparks flew as Kale manipulated the system, triggering a lockdown protocol that sealed the doors and cut off communication with the rest of the facility. "What did it do?" Graves demanded, turning his gun on Ryan again. "It's buying us time," Ryan replied, breathing heavily. "Now listen carefully. If you shoot, you'll regret it. Not because of Kale, but because the entire galaxy will see what happens when fear overrides reason." Graves hesitated, his finger hovering over the trigger. The standoff stretched endlessly, each second feeling like an eternity. Finally, he lowered his weapon slightly, though his expression remained hard. "This isn't over," he growled. "Mark my words." With the immediate threat neutralized, Ryan turned to assess the damage. Mia checked Cale for injuries, finding none. The Vrick stood tall, its chest rising and falling steadily. Despite the chaos, it had shown remarkable restraint, a testament to the bond it had formed with the crew, but the cost of the ambush weighed heavily on them all. As they regrouped in the aftermath, Ryan knelt beside Cale, placing a hand on its shoulder. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for trusting us." Ethan translated, and Cale responded with a soft hum, tilting its head slightly. It was a gesture of understanding and perhaps gratitude. Later, as dawn broke over the horizon, Ryan contacted Senator Bennett to report the incident. Her reaction was swift and decisive. "We can't keep Cale here anymore," she told him bluntly. "It's not safe. You need to find somewhere else." Ryan nodded, though the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. "I know," he replied, "and we will." What he didn't say aloud was the truth gnawing at him. Protecting Cale meant risking everything, including the lives of those he cared about most. But as he looked at the towering Vricks standing beside him, he knew one thing for certain. Turning back was no longer an option. The decision to move Cale came with a sense of urgency that left little room for hesitation. Ryan and his crew knew they couldn't stay in the facility any longer, not after the ambush by Task Force Omega. Every second they remained put them, and Cale, at greater risk. They needed a safe haven, somewhere hidden from prying eyes and hostile forces. Senator Laura Bennett provided them with limited assistance, discreetly arranging transport for the Eclipse to leave Earth's orbit without drawing attention. "I can only do so much," she warned Ryan during their final meeting. "Once you're out there, you're on your own." Ryan nodded, grateful for her help, but fully aware of the stakes. "We'll manage," he said firmly. "Thank you for everything." With that, the crew prepared for departure. Cale, sensing the tension around it, remained unusually quiet. It followed Ethan closely as they boarded the ship, its glowing red eyes scanning the surroundings warily. The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Trust had become the most valuable currency they possessed. As the Eclipse slipped away from Earth, Ryan gathered his team in the briefing room. The mood was somber, each member carrying the weight of recent events. Mia sat with her arms crossed, her sharp gaze focused on the table in front of her. Sam fidgeted nervously with her tablet, while Jack leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. Only Ethan seemed somewhat at ease, though even he couldn't hide the fatigue etched into his features. "We need a plan," Ryan began, breaking the silence. "Kyle can't stay on this ship forever. We need somewhere secure, a place where we can protect it and continue building trust." "And where exactly do you propose we find such a place?" Mia asked, raising an eyebrow. "Every colony and outpost is monitored. Someone will notice." Jack spoke up, his voice thoughtful. "What about neutral territory? There are sectors of space controlled by no one. If we pick the right spot, we might be able to lay low for a while." "It's risky," Sam interjected, "but it could work, as long as we avoid major trade routes and keep our movements unpredictable." Ryan nodded slowly. "Then that's what we'll do. We'll head for uncharted space and figure things out from there." Ethan looked up from his translator device, his expression hesitant. "What about Cale? Does it understand what's happening?" "I've explained as much as I can," Ethan replied. "It knows we're leaving because it's not safe here anymore, but I don't think it fully grasps how dangerous things have become." Ryan sighed. "We'll just have to make sure it stays safe. That's all we can do." The journey into uncharted space was anything but smooth. The Eclipse encountered several obstacles along the way: asteroid fields, ion storms, and even rogue drones left over from ancient wars. Each challenge tested the crew's resolve, but they pressed on, driven by a shared purpose. During one particularly harrowing encounter with a meteor shower, Kyle surprised everyone by taking action. As debris pelted the ship, threatening to damage critical systems, the Vrix positioned itself near the viewport, studying the trajectory of the rocks. With a series of clicks and gestures, it communicated something to Ethan. He says he can predict where the meteors are coming from. Ethan translated quickly. If we adjust course based on his input, we might avoid the worst of it. Ryan hesitated for only a moment before giving the order. Do it. Let's see if it works. To everyone's amazement, Kale's instincts proved accurate. By following its guidance, Jack managed to navigate the ship through the storm with minimal damage. When the danger passed, the crew erupted into cheers, slapping Kale lightly on its armored arm in gratitude. For the first time since the ambush, there was a spark of hope in the air. Eventually, the Eclipse reached a remote sector of space, far removed from galactic civilization. Here, the stars seemed dimmer, the void quieter. It was a lonely place, untouched by the conflicts and politics of the wider universe. Ryan decided this would be their temporary refuge. While exploring the area, they stumbled upon an abandoned civilian transport vessel drifting aimlessly among the asteroids. Its hull was battered and scarred, but scans indicated it was still functional. Jack volunteered to investigate, returning with news that the ship's navigation system could be repaired with some effort. This could be useful, Ryan mused, examining the vessel. If we fix it up, we can use it as a decoy or even a secondary base. Mia frowned. You really think splitting our resources is wise right now? It's better than nothing, Ryan countered. Besides, we might need options if things go south again. Work began immediately, with Sam and Jack focusing on repairs while Mia and Ethan kept watch for potential threats. Kyle observed curiously, occasionally mimicking the crew's actions as if trying to learn. Despite the language barrier, its presence brought a sense of unity to the group, a reminder of why they were doing this in the first place. Their newfound sanctuary didn't remain peaceful for long. One evening, as the crew rested aboard the Eclipse, alarms blared suddenly, jolting everyone awake. A fleet of ships had appeared on the horizon, their markings unfamiliar, yet unmistakably hostile. Who are they? Mia demanded, rushing to the command console. I don't know, Ryan replied grimly, studying the readings. But they're closing fast. Before anyone could react, a transmission crackled through the speakers. A gruff voice filled the room, speaking in broken Galactic standard. Surrender the Vrix. Hand it over and we'll let you live. Ryan exchanged a glance with his crew. This wasn't Task Force Omega. It was someone else entirely. Pirates, mercenaries, or worse, whoever they were, they meant business. What do we do? Sam whispered, clutching her tablet tightly. Ryan took a deep breath, his mind racing. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but surrendering Kale wasn't an option. We fight, he said finally, his voice steady. But we do it smart. Using the repaired civilian transport as bait, the crew devised a daring plan. Jack piloted the smaller vessel toward the enemy fleet, making it appear as though they were fleeing. Meanwhile, Ryan and the rest of the crew stayed hidden aboard the Eclipse, ready to strike when the time was right. As expected, the attackers gave chase, leaving their flagship vulnerable. Seizing the opportunity, Ryan launched a surprise assault, targeting the larger ship's engines and disabling its weapon systems. Caught off guard, the enemy fleet scrambled to regroup, giving the Eclipse enough time to slip away into the asteroid field. When the skirmish ended, the crew emerged victorious but shaken. They had narrowly escaped disaster once again, thanks to quick thinking and teamwork. Kale, who had watched the battle unfold silently, emitted a series of approving clicks, its glowing eyes fixed on Ryan. You saved us, Ethan translated, softly. It says, thank you. Ryan smiled faintly, though his thoughts were heavy. Each victory felt smaller than the last, each escape more precarious. He knew they couldn't keep running forever. Sooner or later they would need allies, powerful ones to stand against those who sought to destroy Kale. And so, as the Eclipse drifted deeper into uncharted space, Ryan made a silent vow. They would find those allies, no matter the cost. because abandoning Kale now would mean betraying everything they had fought for, and everything they believed in.